Another announcement: if you are a registered voter and want to vote and don't have a blue card, you've got to go get a blue card out front. Register. If you don't have a blue card, you will not be able to vote. If I hear in the back, everyone, you can hear me back there? Awesome, excellent. I think we're going to start, and where there's only one article, I'm going to have, I believe Ruth is going to make the motion. If you're going to get up and speak to an article, please get to a microphone or near a microphone if you intend to speak. So once the discussion starts, if you're going to speak to the article, please, you can line up at the mic and then we can proceed through it that way. But Ruth, I guess you're up.
Good evening, everybody. I, Ruth R. Perrine, move that the town vote to transfer from the sale of real estate fund the sum of $900,000 to purchase the property at 31 Apple Street, Assessor's Map 142, Lot 14, which has been held in Chapter 61A status, giving the town the right of first refusal on its purchase, and further to authorize the Board of Selectmen to enter into all agreements and to execute any and all instruments as may be necessary or convenient on behalf of the town to effect such acquisition on such terms and conditions as the Board of Selectmen deems appropriate.
Is there a second? Discussion.
I'm going to start. So I'm not in front of you this evening to advocate for or against this purchase. I'm simply here to present the information. When a parcel of land is held under Chapter 61A, basically the town has kind of paid for it a little bit because we have accepted not collecting the proper taxes. It's a decreased amount of taxes that you get for this particular parcel. And when this parcel goes up for sale, the town gets that first right of refusal to buy it. So again, the Board of Selectmen had the opportunity to say, no, we're not interested. But as we did with 30 Apple Street, it makes a lot more sense for us to bring it to the voters and hear what you have to say. It's really your funds, and we need to know whether you want this or not. So a couple of things just for points of clarification, and also to say to you that this is not a discussion this evening about what we could do with the property. We don't want to talk about that. We're simply here to talk about whether the town wants to purchase it or not. A couple of things. I've read a few things that says we could use this money to help taxpayers not have such big tax bills. That is not actually true. The money that's in this particular account that we're talking about could be used for anything that can be bonded. So think big projects, a one-time capital expense. That's what this money can be used for. The second piece that I just want to comment on is about land ownership. I've heard a couple of people say, the town doesn't want to be landowners. We don't want to be in that business. That's fine. I understand that. But just keep in mind that we do own land. We own Chebaco Terrace. We own 11 John Wise Ave, the Town Hall, Shepherd Memorial, Centennial Grove. And we own Canomo Point. And prior to my seat on the select board, we had some really smart, unbelievable individuals that negotiated for those leases on Canomo Point. And in 2022, we collected $514,000 in lease income from that. So we actually do a pretty good job of that. Having said that, I want to also say that the current purchase and sale holders of 31 Apple Street is members of the Filius family. I've had the pleasure of knowing the Filius family for over 37 years. They are trustworthy, honest, hardworking, wonderful people. And should the town choose not to buy this land this evening, we are very fortunate that we have honest brokers that are going to do exactly what they say. They've said they're going to renovate the beautiful old house at the street. They're going to build one or potentially two other houses, and they're going to make it lovely. I believe everything that I've just said this evening, and now I leave it to you, the voters, to come comment.
Further discussion?
I'd like to make Tina Lane, Lanes Road, 21 Lanes Road. I'd like to move that the article be a secret ballot.
It's probably more appropriate to wait till we're ready to vote after the discussion.
Okay.
When I call for a vote, then that would be a good time. Any further discussion?
Why not? Stan Hilton, 25 John Wise Ave. I know you didn't want to bring up what this might be used for, but not knowing, I'm going to vote it down and would expect everybody here to do the same.
Annie?
Hi, I have a list of questions, Jeff. Annie Cameron, Pickering Street. So I guess my first question is, I wondered if Ben could clarify where Ben is. Hi, Ben. Can you tell me the use of those funds that are being proposed? Is that, online I saw it's only for real estate purchases, and I'm not sure that that's actually true. So I wondered if you could clarify that. If you could, strategic plan doesn't have the purchase of land on it.
Do you want to have them answer
I think they're both
one
smart.
at a time?
Is that what you want me to do?
Well, it might be easier if you have 6 than that.
Fine with me.
I can't remember, so.
Okay, let's do that.
So someone want to answer that question that knows what the money can, please. No, I think they need you on the mic.
Ben Buttrick, I chair the Essex Finance Committee, 81B Choate Street. So just to answer the question about the source of funds, the proposed source for making the purchase is the sale of real estate fund, which are the proceeds from Canomo Point. That money can be used for, as Ruthie said, capital investments, purchases. It can be used for real estate acquisition. It can't be used for operating purposes, so just the ongoing operation of the town. Is that helpful?
Yeah, but stay here.
Please, Ben, please stay right here.
Please stay with Ben. So we know that we can use it for equipment or whatever. Capital, physical things. I guess my question is, how much do we have in the fund? And then if you tie up another $1 million in a real estate purchase, what does that do to funding other capital items that are already on our list? And then if we purchase it without a plan, and then there's a conflict about what to do with it, at some point somebody wants to put it in conservation, someone wants to develop it, you've got this money that's tied up in a piece of land. And I just wonder about the liquidity of that. And then I guess my final thing is affordable housing. I'm a proponent of affordable housing, but I just don't know if that's the right spot. It's a one-lane road, there's no public transportation. But if you could talk a little bit about how much money we have in that account, and then what happens if it's tied up. Thanks, friend.
Actually, I'm gonna invite Jeff Soulard, the town accountant, to come up here, because I asked him that exact question today in terms of what the balance is. So.
Jeff Soulard, 87 Martin Street. So right now, we have $2.245 million in that account after buying the other Apple Street property. Spending $900,000 here would bring that amount down to just over $1.3 million. And just to give you a sense, those funds right now are sitting in an interest-bearing account. They're earning just under 4% interest. Year to date, we've earned about $82,000 in this account. And that income actually rolls right into the general fund to be used against other expenses. It's a fine line between close and feedback. So, the idea is, if you use this money, it is gone, and it's not available to be used on other capital projects. It could be used, even for things like the water infrastructure, if we determine that we're willing to use general funds to help supplement the cost for that. But I think, your point is this money best utilized on this particular purchase? Is it a piece of land that will, has enough use that we could recoup, our investment on it? My understanding is you could, sell off the existing house and maybe another lot or two on this property. So we hear people say a lot, that they'd like to see the town be more creative in how they how we search for revenue, and this could certainly be an area where we might be able to generate a little revenue. You take $900,000, you buy this property, you sell the house that exists for $600,000, say. You then bifurcate the property into another lot or two and sell those for $400,000 a piece, and you've suddenly now made $1.4 million. You've made $500,000 worth of profit on your $900,000 investment. That being said, you have to look at whether we want to be in the real estate development business or not. Personally, I would not advocate for it, but it is a way to be creative in how we generate more revenue in town. I hope that gives you a little understanding of the fund and what it's earning and things like that.
I don't think I really have much to add to that. I would just point out that we have been using these funds for various purposes to offset burden to all of us as taxpayers. So we've used those funds for renovation of town hall. We've used those funds as a source for some of the public safety building. We used these funds, last year for the 30 Apple Street purchase. So I do think that that's an issue in terms of the balance of that fund. It is a pretty big chunk of what's remaining. So, but at any rate, hopefully that addresses the questions.
Actually, I'll just add one thing to what Ben just said. So just to give people an idea of the scope of what we're dealing with here. So we raised about $13.2 million when we sold these properties at Canomo Point. We used about $4.7 million on the town hall renovation. We used about $4.1 million on the public safety building. We used $450,000 on improvements to the Canomo Point access. $537,000 went to the seawall project. And as Ben mentioned, we just spent $1.15 on the Apple Street property. So that has brought us down to about 2.2. So we've spent about $11 million subsidizing projects that we otherwise would have bonded for. So this money has been very effective for us.
More discussion? Susan, you are up.
No, you go ahead.
Hi, everybody. I'm sorry that my back is to you. It's slender, right? I look slender. Susan Coviello, 6 Burnham Court. Annie, thanks for your questions. It kind of we got the answers of just about everything I was going to ask. But I will say that of the list that Jeff just went through, and thank you for doing that, Jeff, I think it's really important to note that the things that we spent that money on, with the exception of the other Apple Street property, which was a little bit, I could have gone either way on that, were necessary things that we had to spend money on. And I think that that money was really well spent. I don't think anybody can argue that the town hall is a gem and also houses everything that we possibly need in town, and that the police and fire station departments certainly deserved what they got for that. I would argue, as somebody that is very protective of the Canomo Point funds, to know that there was $15 million and now we're down to $2 million. I'm starting to tie my purse strings really tightly, and I know that if we ever needed or wanted to do future improvements at Canomo Point and that money was gone, it would be very difficult to get that money, I think, to raise that money through taxes, through town taxes. So I would urge you to vote no on this. I think there's better ways, more thoughtful ways of spending down, or maybe not spending at all, the remaining $2.2 million that is in that fund. Thank you.
I also am going to vote against this.
Name?
Edward Neal, 15 Western Ave. I was really in favor of acquiring the 30 Apple Street property, and the reason behind that mostly was that we needed another access from our vital DPW area. And so we've got that property, I understand, is in agreement now. And so we still have work to do there. It would be not make sense to get the property and then not build the road out to Apple Street so that we could then spend some more capital funds and repair the bridge that we live in fear of that goes to the transfer station. So I don't believe we're in a position where we can afford $900,000 to $1 million that we don't know what we want to really use the property for. I think money spent should be spent for a good reason, and given the amount of capital funds that we have left, I think we've got some important work to do that we know what it is and we need to do. I'd say save the money and spend it on those things. Thank you.
Further discussion?
I just have a question. Could someone please explain the 61A, apparently they didn't, where they paid lower taxes. So if someone buys this, is there any benefit to the town? Are we going to get any of the taxes back? And if you could describe that process.
Jeff, I think you can
appreciate it.
probably maybe handle it.
So when property is in Chapter 61A, they pay little or no taxes on that property from the time it enters until the time they sell. What the town gets is a 5-year look back. So we would recoup, in this case, somewhere between $20,000 and $25,000 if someone else buys the property. Through a quirk in the state law, if we buy the property for the same exact amount, we lose the back taxes. So it's actually a $25,000 loss of revenue to us, yet we buy it at the same price. But that is the amount, it would be $20,000 to $25,000.
Richard Cairns, 35 Martin Street. On that same issue, I'm a longtime assessor in the town. On that same issue, not only would we lose the revenue from the taxes that need to be compensated to the town for 61A, but also going forward, it would be a revenue loser for us too. There's a speculation of what we might do with it to maximize it as an investment, which Jeff mentioned, but I think once that gets to the point of discussion, that's all up in the air. But what we would be losing in the meantime is the value of the property and increased value of the property if it's developed. So right now it's 9 acres, I think. One is normally taxed or assessed as we would with a house and an acre of land. The 8 acres, though, is minimally taxed because, or minimally assessed because of 61A. Once it comes out of 61A, if it's subdivided, each lot becomes $400,000 or $500,000 plus the value of a house that's placed on it. So you're eliminating that possibility and that future revenue. I don't think there's anybody here who is not concerned about their taxes, and the more people we have contributing to the pool, the lower your tax is going to be. Now, might only be 6 or 7 cents, I'm saying, from this property, but everything helps at this point. Thanks.
Further discussion? Last call. Okay. Tina, I'll take your I'll take Tina's motion. Is there a second to the motion of a secret ballot? What this requires is 20% of the people here to stand up or hold up their cards. I need 20% to have a secret ballot. If I don't get that, then we'll just do the normal card count. So all those in favor of a secret ballot, please raise your blue card. I don't have the 20%, so we're going to go with a regular ballot. So all those in favor of this one article, please raise your blue card. In favor of Article 1, please raise your blue card. It's to buy Apple Street. All those opposed? The motion does not pass. No further business. Motion to adjourn.